Hello and welcome to the webinar, everyone. Thank you for joining. All attendees are currently in listen-only mode. The webinar is also being recorded and will be sent out to attendees by the end of the day tomorrow. My name is Julia Pascarella. I am the creative manager at AYRO, and I will be facilitating the conversation today. Today, we will be speaking with AYRO's CEO, Tom Wittenschlaeger, about the power of sustainability. The presentation will last about 15 minutes and will be followed by a 15-minute question and answer session. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter your questions in the question window, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. I'll kick off the presentation with a bit of an introduction to AYRO. So AYRO designs and produces zero emissions vehicles and systems that redefine the very nature of sustainability. So I think at this point, most of us have heard the term sustainability, are roughly familiar with what sustainability is, but I just wanted to start the presentation with a quick, broad definition of what sustainability is. And if we start with the word itself, to sustain means to keep something going with strength and support. And often sustainability is talked about having three pillars. And those pillars are economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability. And economic sustainability is focused on creating practices that support long-term economic growth while limiting the impact on other elements in society, including the environment and culture. Social sustainability is about managing the impacts of systems, processes, organizations, and activities on people and social life. So this is more about quality of life and the health of communities and society. And then environmental sustainability, I think, is kind of the traditional picture that we have in our head of what sustainability is. And that is the ability to create and maintain the conditions under which nature can exist in productive harmony to support the present and future generations. So that, again, was a kind of broad overview of what sustainability is. Now, Tom is going to talk about a more specified version of sustainability that's kind of applied more to businesses.
Okay, so Julia, thank you. And you know, when people talk about sustainability and the context of sustainability in the product world, you know, you can think of it in terms of the life cycle of sustainability. So sustainability begins in the design process. So as you're designing a new product, the way you go about designing it, the materials you select, the way that you construct the final product, all of that begins in the basic design process, and using materials that are easily repurposable, or using materials as part of your design that are fully sustainable, like bamboo, the ultimate sustainable material. That all goes back to design and design philosophy. So that's where sustainability begins. Next comes sourcing. And how you source things also has a pretty significant impact on sustainability. You know, bringing things across 6,000 miles of ocean consumes a whole lot more resources than sourcing things in your own neighborhood or in the Midwest United States. So the sourcing process also has a very significant impact on sustainability, as does who you source things from and how they go about making the raw materials that feed into our factory. Manufacturing is yet another area where sustainability is a big deal. And this is really final assembly, production, integration of products in a way that's very, very efficient, in a way that generates as little waste as possible, and very importantly, in ways that generate, you know, very little scrap. That all ties to sustainability. Next, how you distribute. How do you get final product into the marketplace? Do you do it efficiently? Do you do it in a bundled way? Your method of distribution is yet another source of sustainability. And of course, sustainability in how you use a product. How's it meant to be used? How can it be more efficient? How can fewer products do the same as a larger number of products? And how can products that last longer and require, let's just say, require replacement on radically different timeframes, that also is very significant in the sustainability context. And last but not least is, at the end of the life cycle, the way you repurpose those vehicles, the way you recycle them or reuse the materials, or the way you have ready, let's just say, ready reuse, ready recycling, ready repurposing, all of those things together really form to create the life cycle of sustainability.
Yeah, thanks. That's super helpful to learn about. So it sounds like it's, from beginning to end, kind of integrating sustainability into each step along in this case, the product design and manufacturing process. And just another point on distribution, I think it also can matter how you're shipping out your vehicles too, right? Like that's another thing that comes into play as far as sustainability goes, is how sustainable is your transport to your customers, right?
Absolutely. Outbound freight is a big deal. And the efficiency of outbound freight is a big deal. Every one of these pieces has a very significant impact on the extent to which you can reach a reasonable level of sustainability. The long and the short of it is that everything matters. And the minute you realize everything matters, you can govern what you do accordingly.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess to kind of expand on that, next, can we talk a little bit about how AYRO views and practices sustainability?
Sure. Well, look, when you're in the product business, the core element of sustainability is how often you have to replace something. And the way we practice sustainability starts with building products to a higher standard, which means they last longer, which means they have to be replaced less often, which means the replacement cycle, which is where the lion's share of resources are consumed, that replacement cycle is drawn out in time, which by definition makes the products more sustainable.
Right.
Next,
sorry.
Sorry, Julia, please.
No, I was going to say, right, because it takes a lot of energy to make new vehicles, and also it prevents them from going to the way it limits waste, if you're not having to purchase a new vehicle as frequently.
Absolutely. And the next piece of it is really choosing materials that are sustainable. I talk a lot about, why do we use so much bamboo? Well, we use bamboo because bamboo is the ultimate sustainable material. It's not a tree, it's not a wood, it's a weed. And so when you harvest bamboo from a field, one spring, the very next spring, it's all back. So it's one of those ultimate sustainable materials. The great thing about bamboo is it's very easy to form into planks and into materials. We use bamboo in our dashboards. We use it in our sun visors. We use it on the tailgate of the flatbed as basically a flooring material. And so bamboo is one example. Another example is the metals we use. The metals we use are all fully recyclable and fully repurposable. And then we have yet other things, like the way we form body panels. We form body panels in a material such that when we cut the material out of the mold, that material, which we selected purposefully, can be ground back up and can go back and be reused in the next mold. And so we've created a body panel approach that creates no waste, and everything is reused in the body panel forming process. We source in North America primarily. The reason is our supply chain is a day's truck ride from the factory. So we're not dragging things 6,000 miles across the ocean, nor are we bringing them from around the world. We're simply bringing the lion's share of them from our backyard, which is far more efficient, consumes far less resources. And frankly, it's not just good for sustainability and the environment, it's good for business. And lastly, we've developed and patented technologies that limit environmental impact. So the way you operate a vehicle and the way you control the way a vehicle operates has a tremendous impact on the extent to which it can traverse environments without changing them or without damaging them. And that goes down to control systems. It goes to the kinds of compounds we use in our tires. It goes to the way we accelerate, the way we brake, the way we steer. And so all of these things together demonstrate a company that practices sustainability, which is far in excess of just talking about sustainability.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's easy to kind of get stuck in the theory of sustainability, and it's a lot harder to put it into tangible ideas and processes.
That's right. And we think it's better to practice sustainability than to use the offsets approach of sustainability, which is that's a whole nother conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, now that we've talked a little bit about how AYRO views sustainability and how it practices sustainability, next, let's talk a little bit about the products that AYRO produces, which are sustainable vehicles, low-speed electric vehicles, to be specific, and how the sustainable elements of those vehicles are beneficial to the end user. And one of the ways that these low-speed electric vehicles are beneficial is that they have the ability to operate indoors. They're super, super quiet, and they operate. You have the ability also to operate in weight-sensitive environments, so you can drive it in places that you can't typically drive a full-sized internal combustion engine truck. And that's kind of the theme of this whole slide is you can use this vehicle in places that you can't with traditional internal combustion engine vehicles. And so, yeah, you can drive this on, like a pier, at the beach, where, you wouldn't really want to drive a full-size truck on that, or a pedestrian bridge. And then you can also operate it on any sort of like delicate surfaces. So any sort of grass that you don't want to disturb at like a golf course or a park, or a resort, just any sort of environment where you don't want to mess up the thing that you're driving on. And then it also operates without exuding toxins, which is super useful when you're using it indoors, and especially, if you're going to use it indoors at like a hospital, you definitely don't want to be exuding any toxins, and you don't want to be disturbing any of the patients. So that's where the whisper, the quiet operation also is beneficial to the user. And then another thing about these electric vehicles is you have the ability to operate without the need for constant maintenance. So there's fewer fluids involved with electric vehicles. So you're not having to change oil. You're not having to change coolant. So there's just fewer stops to maintain this vehicle. Another thing about the smaller size of this vehicle is that it has the ability to be like parked, or in general just take up less space of paved surface. So which really benefits use in highly dense or densely populated areas where there's a lot of vehicles on the road and there's not really room for last mile delivery to be driving full-size trucks. So like in like New York or a lot of European cities where the streets are much narrower, or there's always like blocked traffic, it can make a lot more sense to have a vehicle that can navigate areas that a full-size truck couldn't. And that kind of touches on that last point there too, is that it has the ability to navigate areas that larger vehicles just can't. And I think that brings us to the end of this presentation and opens us up to questions and answers. So let's see if any questions have come in. Okay, yeah. One question that came in was, where's a good place to start making my business more sustainable? Tom, do you want to?
That's a great question. And it really comes to the reality that every business is different. So if you're in the resort business, it's one answer. If you run a warehouse, it's a different answer. If you run a factory, it's yet a different answer, or a golf course. But fundamentally, I think the best place to start on a sustainable path through vehicles, kind of like the ones we build, is on those use cases that carry great value to what you do for a living. So, for example, if you're a golf course operator and the golf course is surrounded by a community of homes, the value of this vehicle right away is the fact that it makes no noise. And so while you're out doing maintenance at 3 and 4 in the morning, the last thing you want to do is wake up everybody in the neighborhood with a loud internal combustion engine vehicle. So that would be a great place to start if you're a golf course operator. If, on the other hand, you're a warehouse or distribution operator, the great place to start is moving those large, heavy payloads from the loading dock into the warehouse intermediate storage, back to the outbound freight locations, and doing it efficiently because the payload of the vehicle is really substantial. It's about 1,200 pounds. It's super quiet and it's super efficient. And most importantly, it won't leave tire marks on that beautifully polished concrete floor that you have in your distribution center. So as you go through different use cases, let's say you're a marina operator and you're delivering dock boxes to your customers, and you have a 200-foot dock, you have two choices. You can use a vehicle like ours and take those things down to the end of the pier, or you can have 4 very large men grab those boxes and hand carry them down a pier, which is dramatically less efficient. That's why we refer to that as last mile extension. So whatever your specific high value use cases for your business is probably the best place to start, because if you start knocking down the really big problems, all the rest of them sort of become less daunting.
Yeah, that makes sense. The next question we have is, do our batteries have a coolant like Tesla batteries?
So our batteries are lithium-ion batteries. We use lithium-ion because of its energy density. Now, the word coolant is a little bit, it's a great question. It's a little bit incomplete, because what our batteries have is thermal management. So in a battery, you worry about a battery when it's really hot out, and you worry about a battery when it's really cold out. So lithium-ion batteries, if you allow them to cold soak, in other words, if you just let them stay outside in freezing temperature without thermal management and without a charge on them, the batteries don't do very well. The same thing is if you allow them to overheat, you create other unintended issues. So thermal management is a subsystem that is in our batteries, and yes, it includes cooling and it includes heating. But where it includes cooling, yes, there is a coolant and there is a radiator and there is a circulating system.
Okay. The next question that came in, is AYRO looking into any more sustainable battery options?
Well, that's a great question. And so today we use lithium ion, and we use lithium ion for the simple purpose that the energy density fits the low-speed electric vehicle profile. The fact is we want vehicles that have substantial range. We want to have enough energy to have a fully loaded vehicle traverse meaningful distances. But lithium ion isn't the ultimate sustainable material. Obviously, lithium mining is a whole nother subject, that is outside the realm of this particular webinar. Ultimately, we would like to get to the batteries that are fully sustainable as well. Things like zinc air batteries, where the material zinc, zinc is a supplement we take in our vitamins every day. Water is something that we drink, mightily every day. And zinc water batteries and that style of battery will take the battery subsystem to sustainability in the same way the rest of the vehicle has been brought to sustainability. Today, zinc air batteries are not yet at a place where they fit the energy density or the current draw requirements of our vehicles. We're hopeful in the future they will, and when we switch to a technology that, like that, that will render the entirety of the vehicle fully sustainable.
Yeah, that'll be great. The next question, that's an interesting one. What applications are you seeing the most interest in for the Vanish?
Well, the applications are, it's almost what application doesn't it fit? So today we're seeing tremendous interest from campus operators, from resort operators. We're seeing tremendous interest from large corporate environments, warehouses and distribution centers, where you have to move materials across fairly large buildings, fairly large spaces. We're seeing interest from manufacturers in terms of delivering raw mat to specified areas on the production floor. And so, overall, we're seeing a rather substantial variety of areas of interest. Literally, we've run ride and drive events, and every time we do one of those, everyone that comes and drives our vehicle thinks of a new way to use it. So I don't think we're very application limited. Today we're just at that place where we want to build these as fast as we're able.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, next question. Are there any technologies, like advanced technologies, that AYRO is using to make the Vanish more practical and like appealing to a broader audience?
Well, that's a really cool question. And so we have designed this thing from scratch to be the most advanced and the most efficient last mile extension vehicle in the world. So everything from selecting the motor, which is an axial flux motor, a radial motor, which has tremendous power in a very small footprint. And power matters when you need to move 1,200-pound payloads around, and you may need to move it in, say, a steep environment, a hilly environment, up ramps. You simply need tremendous power, and we've done that in our advanced motor. In the controls and indicators world, we have a dual display in the in the driver's position, and the dual display can be used in a great many ways. But really, the way it can be used that's really significant is, first of all, you have a keen sense of the status of the vehicle. What's the charge? Where are you? Are you in a geofenced area? Are you on a trail? Are you where you need to be? And then the second display, when you think about it, you can use it for any number of purposes. The most significant being that you can deploy these vehicles in a collaborative rather than an individual way, which would make that last mile delivery or last mile extension more efficient. In other words, the vehicle could be dispatched from wherever it is without having to return to dispatch. And the reduction in total trip length could thus create a much, much more efficient delivery scheme. So those are just a few things that have been embedded in the vehicle to create these improved efficiencies, improved sustainability. And by the way, improved sustainability turns into better business.
Yeah. And also like the comfortable seats too, right? Yeah.
Oh, well, the seats.
The efficiency is also tied to that a little bit too, yeah.
Julia, that's a really great point. And I had totally forgotten about the whole human machine interface.
Yeah, yeah.
Creating an environment where people don't become as fatigued means they stay more efficient during the day. And the human part of it is something that was designed into the vehicle as well. The individually bolstered seats and the cushioned floor mats, and the overall operator environment, including, by the way, the translucent sunroof, all that creates better operator efficiency. And you make a great point, Julia. That's kind of a whole nother angle of sustainability.
Yeah, because I mean, if they're wanting to leave the vehicle less because they're more comfortable, they can work for longer hours without, getting uncomfortable, and it's just a better experience for the user, and it's more efficient for the business. So it benefits two parties there. Interesting. Okay. Who do you consider your closest competitor?
Well, the answer is that we sit in the middle of two different competitive pools. So on the low end of our pool are converted golf carts. And converted golf carts, they're really not competitors, but a converted golf cart can be purposed to do what our Vanish does, but it won't have the payload, it won't have the life cycle, it won't have the efficiency, it won't have the power, and it won't have the range. Other than that, it'll be almost the same. So on the low end are converted golf carts. On the high end of what we do are full-size pickup trucks or trucks. And those are different because they're just bigger. And in sheer size, it means that they can't operate where the Vanish operates. I mean, the Vanish is exactly 58 inches wide. And it's 58 inches wide so that it'll fit through any double door in any building anywhere. And you can't do that with a Ford Lightning. You can't do that with a Rivian. You can't do it with a Tesla. So fundamentally, we straddle this low-end converted golf cart world and this super high-end electric truck world. And so in that middle space, there aren't a lot of competitors.
Yeah, we're kind of in a class of our own.
Exactly.
Right. Well, we are getting close to time. So I think that's all the questions we can get to today. And I guess that brings the webinar to a close. I wanted to thank all of you again for joining. Stay tuned for more webinars. And if you're interested in learning more about the sustainable vehicles that AYRO produces right here in Round Rock, Texas, please visit our website, use the QR code here, or you can reach out directly to our sales team at sales@ayro.com. Thank you.